to my there we go,
Okay, cool.
on my computer.
Wow. Okay. So, when was the last time that we talked?
If well, okay, so the last time it must have been okay. I know I can tell you exactly when it was. January of 16 when you did my
Oh,
chart because I
oh
was
my
in
God.
Hawaii.
Right. Wow. I mean, since January 6, 2016, it's been like such a journey for me, man. I've been through India and Nepal like 5 times, like uh, in Greece, in Turkey, and the Turkish Greek islands, living in Copenhagen, right on the beach, living in Bali, in a thriving community, and I've done so much Hindu astrology that it's like I could just look at a chart. Like I get emails from people that I haven't seen, or maybe that I did readings for 15 years ago, and I have no idea who it is. They're all, "Hey Vishaka, how are you, man?" It's like I need another reading, and it's like, "How are you doing?" And I have no idea who it is, but I pull up their chart, and I can look at the chart and go, "Oh, I remember who you are."
Right,
So it's
yeah.
like this karmic imprint, this blueprint of who they are and what they're going through. So I guarantee you that what we speak about today is going to be kind of right on and spot on, and it's something that this is the day. These are the days that people laughed about the astrologers, but man, it's like
Oh,
when you need it now, it's like you know, it's like I have many people in India that I do readings for, like families. And before then, before coronavirus, before things got challenging in life, they would never consult an astrologer to wonder what the F is going on. But now it's like everybody's contacting me, and man, I am slammed, which is great for me. And but also I see that now is the day where these are the times to understand what happened um, 12,000 years ago is so important to understand. And the reason why is because we're using sidereal astrology. And there's this, or whole, just like atoms move around, little atoms, there's like a nucleus in the center. They revolve around each other, just like our solar system, where we have the planets that revolve around the sun. But our solar system is moving around this another orbit that takes 24,000 years, called the cycles of the yugas.
yep.
And and basically, if the planets are the actual indicators of these, if the planets are these actual indicators of these measurement points that show us these cycles of consciousness, and we're going through, if we look at the halfway point, what happened 12,000 years ago, we'll see exactly what was happening, but the planets will be on the other side. You
Mm.
see what I mean? So every 24,000 years, the planets will be in the exact position where they are right now, and which is totally mind blowing to understand. So everything returns back to these same cycles. And that's the cycles of understanding, the cycles of the yugas, basically. So yourself, you are going through these cosmic cycles also as well. And
Yeah.
you're actually in a really good cosmic cycle, but it's almost like you would be referred to like Krishna on the battlefield of life in a
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
You're rising this higher consciousness, but you're also in this dark period of the world as well. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But you're in your Maha Jupiter Dasha period, and Jupiter's in Scorpio in your eighth house, and this is all about like this is the bus schedule. This is the way to understand what you're going through. And you've been in this Jupiter cycle since you were 38 years old in 2010, basically. And so the eighth house has to do with uh,
Scorpionic
unexpected events.
energy. It's transformation.
Yeah,
It's my
yeah,
I'm a triple Taurus. Um and it's my shadow self. So my scorpionic self
yeah.
is my shadow self. And I've tapped into that and I'm using it for my
Yeah,
benefit
yeah,
now. It's
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I gotta laugh because it's actually in Vedic astrology. Your moon is in Taurus, which is beautiful because your moon is exalted. So it's the highest point in the sky for the moon. It means that people who have the moon in Taurus have an exceptional gift in certain areas where the moon is placed, which I can speak more about in the second house of food, communications, and money too. You're actually an Aries ascendant, and your sun is in Aries, which is your sun is also exalted too, and your Mars is in Capricorn, and when Mars is in Capricorn, it's also exalted. So it's called planetary dignity, and where the planets are placed, there's either a low point in the planet or a high point in the planet, and the highest point means that, like, debilitated is the lowest point, exalted is the highest point, and there's a couple other in-between points. This means that in this lifetime, if you're born with these planets in these places, this reveals itself basically in time. When we go through these dasha periods, but you're in this Jupiter period, and Jupiter's in Scorpio. So what this means is, in the Vedas, they spoke about if a person is born with 3 exalted planets, they have the royal status of a king. So there's this royal disposition. If you have 3 planets coincidentally locked in that are exalted, you are a king in a lot of ways. So it's a very
like past life.
Well, everything is past life. I mean, Hindu Vedic astrology is the unfolding of the soul's past life karmas. Because it's like the laws of karma. What we reap is what we sow, and it can be in this lifetime and in other lifetimes. But it's like, how do we know that we actually are a king, and how do we accomplish that? What do we do? Well, we see the astrologer who kind of explains, like, focus on this, do this, or this is the what's the astrological weather? Do we wear a raincoat? Do we wear a shorts? So we're going to the beach. Like, what is our yoga now? Is it the process of karma yoga, bhakti yoga? What is the cycle that we're in? And you are in the Jupiter Mahadasha period. And this is if we follow this energy, the Jupiter Sun period. So you're in an exceptionally powerful, strong period right now, because your sun is exalted in the sign of Aries in the first house. So honestly, I mean, I really do want to say that you were like the, I swear to God, it's so clear to me, you were like the, maybe not the king, but the prince, or the, you know what I mean? Like the royal, you have this royal disposition from past lives that's really clear in the chart. And it's coming through in this lifetime in a lot of ways, and we need to understand how it's coming through, what to be able to do to access that information. Now, also because of your sun being exalted in the sign of Aries, there's also no wonders why you didn't want your chart sent on media, because you have a really powerful chart. Like, who you are is very incredible. I mean, I don't see charts. I've been doing this stuff for 20 something years, and I've never seen a chart quite like this. But you have Saturn that is in the sign of Aries, and Saturn is debilitated. Saturn's the lowest point. So what it meant is in your, and if it's okay that if I say this, because this will greatly help, in your last lifetime, you may have fought for the sake of money, or you may have not treated the people right, or there's some type of karma that's related to usually when somebody has Saturn in Aries, like Mother Teresa had Saturn in Aries, and she had to perform karma yoga to go out in the world to make the world a better place, basically. And
that's what I'm doing.
I know you are. And she had to go to Calcutta. And so Saturn's the only planet that's keeping you in check, because you can do whatever the hell you want, but Saturn will always be there writing right on your ass with a hot brand that's going to stamp your ass if you get out of alignment, unfortunately, in this lifetime, because of previous incarnations. But that's easy. And that's why you're in this spiritual practice and process, because with your Jupiter in Scorpio, that this is a time period of going really deep into spiritual awareness. Not only that your Jupiter's retrograde, which is like ring a bell, it's like you've come back to absorb and to learn the spiritual knowledge, and we keep on trying to say, wait, is that meditation practice really right for me, or is it really going to help me, or to try to refine our beliefs, basically. And so Jupiter retrograde in the sign of Scorpio will, and being it's not only in the eighth house, but it's in the sign of Scorpio, your Jupiter, and you're in the Jupiter Sun period. So you're aspecting that exalted planet. What this means, basically, in layman terms, is that you're in like this deepest point of your life for retrieving the spiritual goals of optimism, the spiritual jewels of being really optimistic and really positive within yourself. So you're accessing this almost guru consciousness right now in your life. And if you're not, well, you need to get meditating because it's all there.
No,
right
no,
now.
I am fully, yes.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to throw the guru trip on you, whatever, because
No,
if you
no,
were just a
please.
regular business person, I would say that this is a great time for abundance that can be found through spiritual practices.
Yeah, just drew
Because
Six of Pentacles and Six of Cups and Four of Wands. Yeah, no, I have a Patreon page that is set up. I'm continuing to work on that. I'm throwing cards for people as well as helping them through the ego death process, which is what I've just like been through.
which is Jupiter in the eighth house.
Yes.
The eighth house is death. Yeah, the rebirth of death work doing spiritual
Phoenix.
Practices.
Yeah,
it's like, oh my God, when I look at your chart, I just go like, God, who is this? Who the hell is this guy? Like, I gotta hang out with this man. You know what I mean? It's like, dude, like, I swear to God, like, your chart is like crazy.
No, I would love that.
Remember I said that the king status is you at least have 3 planets that are exalted. Well, you have Venus in the 12th house in the sign of Pisces, also exalted.
Yeah,
it's like, what the hell? Who are you,
dude?
Like,
and also like I'm just now learning astrology, and I've come to the realization that I'm definitely an theologian now. What Western astrology has taught me about my chart is like where Uranus and how it's affecting me right now. It's crazy. Plus, I have Pluto doing something on my in my 9th house, and then on my ascendant, I have another planet doing something, and those only occur like for the Pluto one, it happens once every 240 years in the solar system, this alignment. And so most people don't even get that in a single lifetime, but mine's happening. And then also I have an equal version or a similar thing going on my ascendant. And then they're both happening at the same time.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Like, I mean, if you really wanted to, you could be the chosen one at this point. You know what I mean?
I know. Well, when I tapped into my spirit guides and ancestors and ascended masters and all of that literally, Peter, it happened. It kicked into high gear on December 21st when Saturn and Jupiter went conjunct.
Right.
I mean, literally, like I think I'm losing my mind. But for the past 3 years, really, that's when I started seeing repeating numbers, and I would get these downloads, and I was putting together everything in my life from my past and present and future, and then boom, it's all happening now, right? Yeah, it's been great.
It is. It's super powerful for you. I mean, it's just whatever's going on. I mean, well, there's probably many things going on. It's like you're the mystic linguistic. You're the I mean, see, the Jupiter energy in the 8th house is all about like channeling. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And so my psychic abilities or my what call it what you will, psychic
Yeah.
channeling or mediumship or ESP, whatever. For everyone, everybody has this ability. It's just, being able to
Yeah.
tap into it. And it's just the development of the intuition. And, rather than making decisions with my head, it's more between my heart and my gut now. And I'm so much happier than living that way.
Yeah. So like and please don't let this get your head in the ego, but in your ego, like the negative ego, because there's a good ego and there's a negative ego. And the ego is seen through the sun, right? And the sun is in the sign of Aries, where the sun is exalted. It's the highest point of the sky, and especially the sun was in Aries 2 weeks ago. So it's just such a powerful placement for the sun. But the sun, the shadow side of this is that, oh my God, I'm greater, I'm better than everybody else. But it's always Saturn's with the sun kind of keeping you in check from the ego, because you'll have the ego, but the brighter the sun is, the more you suffer in a lot of ways. Meaning, because the brighter it is, then you have Saturn that's conjoined with the sun. But even though Saturn's debilitated, it says that if a debilitated planet, Saturn, is with an exalted planet, which is the sun, the debilitation is reversed, basically. And yet the person still will learn the lessons of suffering, and there's still lessons to be able to learn. It's not like if Saturn wasn't there, and Saturn was like in the sign of Libra, right across in the 7th house or something, it would be like you could have a strong ego. You could be like, oh my God, I'm the greatest, I'm making so much money. So it's actually kind of a blessing having Saturn here to kind of keep you in check, because Saturn is that my advice is to do the upayas, do the remedies for Saturn to appease Saturn, because Saturn brought us into this lifetime to learn these lessons, because Saturn is the reason in Vedic astrology rules the crown chakra of why we come back into this life. And each of the planets have a direction also as well that's related to Vastu Shastra that can be related to the astrophotography also as well. So it's super fascinating as well. So so that's why anything that we could do to appease Saturn, and this also means purification, cleansing, the path of karma yoga, burning frankincense resin, clearing energies, you know what I mean? So, and doing our service, selfless forms of service. And that's even donating money to causes, anything that we can do to show that I'm going to take this money out of my pocket, or I'm going to take my time in doing what I do the best, which is to channel the divine and to help people, to offer this as a free service. And I don't want anything in return, because it's part of my karmic retribution. Because according to the chart, you're doing pretty good financially. You know what I mean? And if not, it is going to unfold, because Jupiter in the sign of Scorpio means that you're sitting on a gold mine in some ways. And it's only a matter of time, because Jupiter, the 8th house with Jupiter in there, represents the more spiritual work that we do. You're going to uncover, you know how we dig and deeper within ourselves to find these jewels within ourselves, like through meditation. But it's actually, you will physically make money through meditation, because if we can strengthen Jupiter in the 8th house, then we can transform our karmas and be able to find out whatever it is. Do I make a left? Do I know to right? Who do I meet? Who are the right people that I meet? Do I buy? Do I sell? What do I invest in? You know what I mean? This will be incredibly helpful for you. So this is kind of like the position of a guru, a teacher in a lot of ways, you know, with Jupiter retrograde in the 8th house, you know. And the thing is that, like, many of the gurus in India, because I've worked with a lot of them, they'll be like, hey, Vishaka, I'm about to start my my discourse. Could you please run and get me a dozen cookies and like a Coca-Cola? And so I'd have to, are you sure? You know, you've got diabetes and you're overweight. And they're like, yeah, I need it because Shakti feeds on sugar, you know? So it's also, there's this, with Jupiter retrograde in the eighth house, there's this pleasure attainment, whatever it is, that is also has to be fulfilled in order to raise the Shakti. You know what I mean? And that could be a part of it too, also as well. And of course, I don't want to spin my wheels and talk about things that aren't relevant right now, but damn, man, you got like Holmes, you got the like this homie, you have this like, whoa, look at this chart. I've never seen anything quite like it. You know, really, really beautiful chart, Brandon. I mean, man, you can do so much with this, but the only planet that is keeping you in check, the only planet, because you got the moon exalted. Jupiter is wonderfully placed in the eighth house. I mean, this is a good time period, but it's good, but it's also, you know, the eighth house represents shamanism and occult sciences, and having Jupiter in there, it's like, oh my God, like, when are you going to stop? God, when are you going to stop giving me like these downloads? It's like, what are you doing? It's like,
I'm like, keep them coming.
Yeah. And you do this in your career. See, because it's not only just Jupiter, but here's the trick. It's actually the landlord of where Jupiter is, and Jupiter's in the sign of Scorpio. So the landlord, here's the most important thing that I'll speak about this reading. The landlord is Mars, and Mars is also in the 10th house, right? And when Mars comes into Capricorn, Mars also becomes exalted, right? So you also have Mars exalted. So you have the Sun exalted, the Moon exalted, Mars exalted.
When does that take place?
And Venus exalted. When does it take place? What's happening right now?
Right now. It is.
Yeah, well, your Jupiter's retrograde in the sign of Scorpio. And so the landlord, the owner that regulates what happens is Mars, or shows us where we apply this gift, this spiritual knowledge. And Mars is with the north node of the moon in the 10th house. And the 10th house is the way the world sees you, your career, meaning that it's called the lordship. So the 8th house is the house of the unknown, research, things that are hidden. The landlord is Mars, and Mars is in the drishti, as it's called. The drishti, when Mars is placed in the 10th house. So the Lord, the owner of the 8th house, is in the 10th house. And the 10th house is your career. And that's Mars. And Mars is exalted in the sign of Capricorn. So it's like, wow, exalted planets like everywhere. And this is a leadership role through intuitive, because Mars is with Rahu. And this, like Venus Williams, all Nadal. I did a study on all the tennis players because I was watching a tennis game one day and I was like, oh my God, like they are psychic. They know where the ball's going to land. Like, what is up with them, right?
Tennis is my favorite sport.
They all had, all the greatest tennis players have Rahu in Mars. You know why?
That's crazy.
Because they all know. Yeah, I swear to God, they all want to know where the ball's going to land. They all know because they have forward thinking. They're psychic.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. In the sports world, like, are you kidding? If you say, well, Nadal, how do you do so well? Well, I'm psychic. And everybody would think it's like a joke. They're like, you know, but, well, it's like, well, no, actually, you know, we're moving into this part of the world where everybody's going to be psychic. And if you're not on board, you know, you may as well, you know, take the vaccine, and, you know, you may as well get on board with follow the rest of the sheep to the lower pits of humanity. I mean, or get into this whole Maya. I mean, because we haven't really even talked about this whole Corona Sharona thing, but I was in India at the time, and I saw there were 7 planets that were piling up December 26, 2019, right? And I was in India. And I was saying, holy shit, what is going to happen, right? And I went to a conference. And by the way, I was in a period of my life where I was struggling from, I had dengue fever 3 times. And the 3rd time I got it, it was like almost like malaria, man. I couldn't move. I was really worried that I was going to die. And this is because I was running my eighth house because I had Rahu in there. But I had enough energy to like go to this conference going like, oh my God, like what's going to happen? You know, I'm better now. It took almost like a year and a half to get like slowly, slowly, slowly. I think it was the food that I was eating in India and stuff like that too. It's just like probably had parasites and everything, you know. But I'm feeling really good right now. I'm actually doing a 10-day fast right now.
Mm.
Um, and actually a month fast, but I'm on my 10th day. But so I saw all these planets that were coming together, and there was an astrology conference about what was going on here. And I went to the conference, and people are like, I don't know what's going to happen, but this is going to be like one of the biggest illusions that I've ever seen, because the nodes, Rahu and Ketu, Rahu creates illusions. And in the story of the Vedas, Rahu wears a disguise to steal the nectar of immortality from the gods and becomes immortal. So in the story, it's called the Mathan. Vishnu's churning the ocean, and the good and the bad are pulling this giant rope. It's the greatest famous story. If you saw a picture, you'd be like, oh, I've seen that before, you know? Because it's the greatest story in the Vedas. It's the same story where Shiva drank the poisons of the earth and turned purple, and Rahu steals the nectar from the gods. Rahu gets caught, and Vishnu cuts his head off and makes him as this marker point of eclipses, basically. So when there's eclipses, you're considered inauspicious time period, because Rahu curses the sun and the moon and says, okay, but I will come back during the eclipses and I will change this karma. I'll create big illusions to steal your nectar, to steal your Amrita. So that story is playing out right now. And the most ancient story in the Vedas, and this is what I was saying, like, if you want to see what happened 12,000 years ago, it's the exact same story, but it's the opposite. And 12,000 years ago was the sinking of Lemuria, or the Great Flood. But that was the descension point. Now we're on the ascension. So it's almost like Lemuria is rising in a way. You know what I mean? Because we're on, yeah, I totally believe that by looking at the chart, my friend. But the thing is, so what happened is that everybody was saying, I don't know what's going to happen. These astrologers, really astute astrologers. And I was like, oh, wow, I don't know what's going to happen either. And so finally it happened, December 26th. And it's like, well, nothing's really happening yet. I was feeling like there'd be a world change. And the only big thing that happened is that China announced that they had a virus come out called the coronavirus. And whoopee, so what? What's that? And that's the day that China announced the coronavirus. And that was done on a solar eclipse. And that's called the corona around the sun. And the gods have a way of like making it like obvious, like putting it right in your face, because it's part of what they have to do. And so this coronavirus came, and that and that was the beginning of the corona. So I could pull up the chart and see what it's about. And Rahu, the north node of the moon, was in what's called Ardra Nakshatra. That's ruled by the deity Rudra. And that's where the Rudrakshas came from, the idea of the Rudrakshas. But Ardra, it is the bringer of storms. Rudra is the howler, and brings this massive change that happens. So the last time the North Node, as it was 2019, the last time was 9/11. And the 20 years earlier, or 18 years earlier, was the onset of the AIDS virus. And so these are all things. It's all, this is government bullshit. This is government. This is Rahu energy in the United States is in the Rahu Mahadasha period right now. So it's kind of like, you know, I'm here, but you know, there's a lot of BS going on. You know what I mean? And somebody needs to sift through this. So what happened is that even more interestingly enough, and I thought that this is important enough to be able to share with you. I mean, because it's so written in the stars, and it's like, oh my God, that's what that was on the 26th. And so finally I'm on a flight, catch the last flight out of India coming to Hawaii. And it was the very, very last flight on the last day. Otherwise, I would have been in India for at least 3 months, locked in New Delhi, which I would have died, because I was going through like this dengue malaria with like weird fevers and weird rashes, and just like, oh my God, what's going on, you know? So yeah, but I'm like totally better now. But anyway, so what happened is that December 14th, um, we also had another eclipse, and that was when the vaccine was released.
Hmm.
Why is it everything happening on these eclipses? Did you know Christ, when he was crucified, right when he died, there was an eclipse.
Hmm.
The fall of the Roman Empire was an eclipse through the Ottomans. You can watch the movie Ottoman on Netflix. That was done on a lunar eclipse. The eclipses are the markings of the greatest times of change, but they're times of great cycles of illusions as well.
There's cycles, and people need to it should be known and it should be followed, because what
Yeah.
and then you can know your future. But everybody has free will, and that's the thing, right? But if you're ignorant to it, or if you're squinting, or now if you're shutting your eyes to the truth, then you're fucked.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, I really got to say something that's so important because it's more pertaining to you. That the nakshatras are the Vedic stars that are associated with the planets, and so your Jupiter is in Anuradha nakshatra, and Anuradha, the ruling deity is called Mitra, and Mitra, it would be worth it for you to do some research on Mitra, because Mitra is kind of the Hindu version of the Buddha, Maitreya. Mitra is Maitreya, basically. Not a lot of people know this, but it was something that when I went deeper into the studies and learned this. So this Jupiter that you have right now has this, in this time period of your life, there is this Buddhist consciousness that you have, this Maitreya, basically, the energy of, and Maitreya was considered the deity, Mitra, the deity for friendships, right? For friendships and partnerships, and that's what it was all about. Maitreya is he was following like the path of like devotional forms of service, like bhakti yoga, Mitra, and I'll send you a link about Anuradha nakshatra, because Anuradha means the triumphal gateway that is decorated with leaves, basically. And so that's why it's so I've had many dreams in my life, and I look back and I saw that I was in Jupiter subperiods where I was influenced by Anuradha nakshatra, and I had like dreams of me going through these like giant golden arches and such, and that was this gateway of like triumph, meaning that you entered into this spiritual world of enlightenment in a lot of ways. And that's kind of like how your Jupiter is placed and kind of what it means to you, that can bring you this knowledge. So to actually study and to learn about what are the origins of Mitra, who is Mitra, and what is this Anuradha nakshatra, right? And I'm going to send you right now information on it. You just may want to check it out, because the cool thing I really like about Vedic astrology is that it's so old that the Vedas were the earliest ancient texts, but they were the first. It was the first science known to humanity, and
Yes.
we've learned these lessons, and that's why it's so important to understand and that to learn about the wisdom of these nakshatras and Vedic astrology, to understand what it says about us as well, is where were the ancient Vedic planets in the sky upon birth, and what do they mean? And not only that, but even if you don't want to do the astrology, to learn about humanity and consciousness through ancient practices, like reading the Mahashiva Puranas and reading the Puranic literature, basically, that's all available in different interpretations, like the Skanda Puranas, explaining all the great battles of Shiva. Now, listen to this. The thing that's my most important message to you is that you're going to read this, and you're going to say, like, Brother Vishaka let me down, man, because it's like he gave me this, told me to read the Skanda Puranas, and I'm going into all of these deep, I'm reading the Vedas and everything, but I don't understand anything this means. And I'll say, you know what? don't do that. Read it, and it's released in code. It's like a time release capsule
Yeah.
in the body, as you will understand in the higher parts of your consciousness, because all of humanity is really only using about 12 to 13% of our consciousness right now. So how are we supposed to understand something that was written at 100% of consciousness? Well, we just got to read it, let it absorb, read the Bhagavad Gita, and it's like, I don't understand what it means. And that's what I would say. You are in the path of Raja and Jnana Yoga. That's this Jupiter period. That's all about Raja and Jnana. It's a study of spirituality. And it doesn't matter what the hell, if you understand it or not, just read it. And it's like, why do I read? Because the logical, practical mind, like the rest of the world, is like, I don't want to read this crap. What does it mean? It doesn't mean anything. But to you, it will give you the keys to the kingdom to unlock exactly, to raise your consciousness, to make you the best intuitive psychic, because you're studying something that's so old and so ancient. That's why we do the mantras, is to connect to this divine knowledge from many thousands of years ago. It's almost like the sacred Sanskrit prayers that we read.
Akashic
You know?
record.
Yeah. So read the stuff. Even the best stuff is the
Oh,
stuff
I
that you
am.
don't understand. And it's like, what do you mean? Thou shalt have blah, 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 blah.
Oh, no.
Or the mantras or whatever it is that you do,
Yeah.
it will turn into gold. And that is how to recover these gems, is what I say. It's in the stuff that doesn't have to be written in the pure consciousness. It's all available where you are. So, so Jupiter, and I'm sending you a little post. Jupiter is in Anuradha, and this will be a great place just to kind of understand. I'm totally happy to send you any other information that you need as well.
Hey, can we?
So,
thank you for that. All
yeah.
that you've said
What do
is accurate for me in that I know that I need to learn more. In fact, I constantly get told by spirit to go into hermit mode, because there's more healing that I'm doing, and there's learning. It happens simultaneously.
Yeah.
Cool. What
do you want to know?
You can go over the ley lines, and you can show me what they're telling you.
Sure.
Where would be the
Sure.
optimal places to be?
Well, the first thing is, God, you're so close to, you're in Alaska. You're by the North Pole. My God.
Yeah.
Where are you? Are you in Anchorage?
Yes.
Oh my God. Well, what's really interesting is that east of Anchorage is a Jupiter line. So Anchorage does have a Jupiter line. It's so funny because I swear I would actually say to you, no pun intended, that, well, because you are in the Jupiter period and this Jupiter line goes right at this point, say if it was Berlin, I would say that this is a good anchor, is what I would say. Okay. Like, say if there was a Jupiter line, and this is a good anchor, because what is an anchor? An anchor is like a safe spot that you pull in. Okay, we're in a nice cove, drop the anchor, you know? And so the Jupiter line, no pun intended, is going through Anchor Ridge.
Yeah. There we go.
So it's a good
close
anchor.
Enough that how close to the anchor line do you need to be?
Oh my God, it's totally affecting you. As a matter of fact, east, I'll give you a real detailed close-up map of it. Oh my God, so it's totally affecting you. And it's good if you also have the exalted moon line that you're being affected by also as well. And there's two moon lines there. So I'm going to definitely say that, look, Anchorage it is a really good place. I'm sending you more of a close-up map. Part of me is like, what are you talking about, man? You want to know about the maps yet? We were just like on just the beginning, man. It's like, what's wrong with you? I'm saying that with all kindness, but this little boy inside of me is like, oh my God, I found
what are these lines again?
Factory.
And the basic understanding of the lines are they're just like energy meridians of the planet.
Yeah, well, no, Basically, it's like your chart overlapping in a 3D form over the land masses, basically.
Okay.
It's like so when we see oppositions by some lines, and so many times I've told people like, well, Italy is really good for you, man, but you know, because of the Saturn Mars line here, like in the way that it's placed, I could see that, you know, you get your purse stolen or you get robbed there. And she's like, oh my God, I did.
Yeah.
Right in Rome, I got robbed. Like I had my purse stolen, and I could see that in the chart, you know? Or it's like, look, this person is kind of, you know, like, oh my God, I don't know what to do in life. There's nothing going on. I feel like I'm living in a dead zone. And I look and there's no lines in where they're living, right?
Huh.
And then I can also see, well, you're in your moon dasha period. Not you, but as an example, because this will all relate to you, and I'll talk to you about this for just a second. And I would say, well, you're in your moon dasha period and represents water. So if you're living in Arizona, you know, that's not a good place. No wonder it's why you're not feeling well. Because you're in the middle of a desert. You should be in the middle of an ocean. And like there was a chart that I saw at the Bhakti Festival in 2010, the first one, and there was an Indian guy, and I looked at his son's chart and I said, how long has he had cancer? You know, and I had no idea, but you can really see it in there. And he's all, oh, for 3 years. And so part of his remedy was to go to a lush green forest. But instead, he was in a bloody desert in the middle of Arizona. You know what I mean? And so it's a geographical thing also as well. And also each of the planets have, depending upon, and here's what I bring to you, is it also depends what we want. The sun rules the east direction, the moon rules the northwest direction, Mars rules the south direction. So like Venus, I'm in my Venus Mahadasha period and rules the southeast direction, right? And whenever I go to like Southeast Asia, including Bali, in these areas, I just do incredibly well. You know, when I'm following my Dharma, and it makes sense because, you know, I'm doing classical Indian music. These are the things that I like to do, and I'm in my Venus, right? But it's part of me is like, you know, I would have to say to you, well, you know, Brandon, what do you want? You know, it reminds me almost like when in the movie of the Cheech and Chong movie where the whole van's on fire and they're smoking pot, and this cop pulls up to them and they're, oh my God, hide it, hide it, hide it. And they're like, ooh. And the cop comes up and they roll down the window. And instead of the cop saying, let me see some ID, he's like, what do you want? What do you guys want? You know, instead of like the opposite. So you have to tell me what you want also in a way.
Yeah, I think, well, I need to get out of this place.
Yeah.
Because of the energy. And I need to be surrounded by water. I need to be on a beach and in sunlight, just as much water as possible.
Yeah, totally. Oh, and a lot of reasons for that as well. Water is psychic, so salt water, the energy that you're doing right now. And you know, I'm 56 years old, and I grew up in like these hippie spots where everybody was doing crystal healing in like the 70s. You know, taking Wachuma in these parks and dropping LSD and channeling and stuff. You know, so I grew up kind of young in Santa Barbara, and Persian Park, and these areas.
Oh wow!
You know, they were doing this, and I spent time in Hawaii as a kid. And when it was a hippie community before Hollywood moved up there and kind of took it over, and I know that for sure the energy, the vibration that you're running right now in your life, that salt water, bathing yourself in clearing these samskaras, clearing the energy of the work that you're going to be doing. You're going to have to be prepared. You're going to have to get in salt water to help purify your consciousness. So part of me was like, what the hell are you doing? Well, I could see why it's important, because I definitely have to say that it is an anchor, because there's a Jupiter line going through there. And Jupiter lines are good, right? but it's also, like I said, the most important planet is like where Saturn is, and or where Saturn, how we can appease Saturn. Because every single planet that you have in your chart, and this is so important that I say this, okay, because this is related to the lines, that every single planet in your chart is like either exalted or so well placed. Like I've never seen a chart like this, right? But we have the karmic taskmaster, Saturn, that's in your ascendant, that's saying, you know, I want to make sure that even I've given you this gift in life to be a king. And I want to make sure that I'm going to be here and make sure that in this lifetime, that you're not doing it for the money. You're not doing it for your selfish desires. And because I will take everything away from you. And I will have to make you come back into the next lifetime and repeat these lessons again. So therefore, in this lifetime, it's so important that we are in a place where we can do our karma yoga, where we can have a community, not just a bunch of people with shopping carts and grocery stores and dumbed down realities. But where are the people, where do I need to be in this lifetime with all these gifts that I have, that I need, that I could serve other people? And yes, I can do it online. But this is the only planet that Saturn's debilitated. It's so funny. It's like every single planet exalted, but in your ascendant of who you are, you have Saturn there. But the sun is so strong in the chart that it'll actually save you in a lot of ways, you know, that it'll show you your higher consciousness. Your sun is the soul, Atman. Your sun's exalted, but Saturn's debilitated, right? So it's the most in way that I'd say that the critical thing for you to learn about is I would get a book called The Greatness of Saturn, because or I would learn about the Vedic story of Saturn and the sun. Was the birth of Saturn in Vedic astrology or in the Vedas, because Saturn was born from the ruler of the sun. And this is so important because this is in your ascendant. Like the hell with the maps right now. You want me to tell you about the maps, you're gonna have to learn who you are. Okay. And in this story was the birth of Saturn. And the sun was the Lord of the Sun who had a wife. And the wife hated to be there because she was hot, and the sun, the Lord of the Sun, the God of the Sun, was so busy that he never had time for his wife anyways. And so the wife decided to make a statue, had her back turned against the sun, and snuck down to Earth to have a good time, to party and to meet her friends and to just finally swim in the ocean and cool off a little. You know, she'd been on the sun. But right when she did that, Saturn, the Lord of the Sun, looked at the statue and conceived a child. And then the sun, or Saturn, was born, because the gods basically could just have a dream or point at something and it become real, right? So Saturn was born out of this like false pretense in a way. And Saturn was born with these red piercing eyes. And so there was this healing that had to happen, where the Lord of the Sun took Saturn and it called in what's called the Ashwini Kamaras, which were these horses and the healers, the healers of the gods, basically. And they went down to Earth to find his wife. And then he healed the past, or what happened in the past, to heal the relationship. So it's almost like this story goes on, but it's almost like there's this like healing around the hurt that's like so deep inside of us sometimes that we can't understand through either our father or some authority figure or whatever it is, because Saturn represents that structure, so it's authority figures, where we may have been born as a bastard child in a way. We may have felt like part of our this thing that hurt us the most has made us the strongest also as well. And so that's what I feel is very important. And that's what I say. So when I look at the maps, and this is such a beautiful story, and just reading, understanding this interpretation will really kind of open us up, because you have this combination in your ascendant, Saturn and the Sun, and they're both extremely opposites. One's a very hot, fast-moving planet, and it's exalted, but then you also have the karmic taskmaster, Saturn, which is the slowest moving cold planet, basically. So they're kind of in this opposition with each other. And this is what creates hurt. This is like the definition of hurt, is Saturn-Sun combinations. Like, oh, why do you feel so hurt? Like people I see that feel hurt, but they can't explain it, have this combination. But that's what drives this forward also as well. You know, whatever doesn't kill us makes us stronger. Whatever makes us stronger can bring us closer to our purpose and our dharma.
Absolutely.
And so to be in a place like Alaska is fine, but it may not be. Do you have to grab that call or anything?
No. That was a notification.
Okay, great. So what I'm saying is that you can go online and find other ways that we can reach out to the world to help. Everything's online, it seems, ever also. But we also kind of want to be in a place of being able to be of service. Yet we also need to be in a place that's going to heal us, where, you know, of a power spot, basically, on this planet. That's what we need to find. It's like, what is the most Shaktified power place where we can move into what is important in our life, you know?
How does Kona show up?
Well, I sent you the maps, and that's why I kind of got to explain this, because it's a much deeper conversation. And that's why we can't really look at the maps to understand this. And what's really funny is that Kona does have that Saturn line and a Mercury line that goes through it. And that's what I said. Well, if you need to appease Saturn, that may not be a bad place to be also as well. Like I said, every planet is like spot on, but all you have to do is appease Saturn. So if there is a Saturn line going through the Big Island, and it seems to be in the Puna side, and there's great community there. It's a little bit of opposites. There are like drunken stone hippies and crazy. It's like the Wild West there almost, but it is one of the most remote parts of the world, actually, because it's in the middle of the ocean on the most remote part. So it's very beautiful on a level. You know, so I feel that it's not a, you know, and this goes right through Mauna Kea too. And you also have a Mercury line. So hell, I mean, that's like,
and the moon's not far.
Yeah, and the moon's not far, and Mars, which is exalted, and in Kauai we also have. That's where you would work, and that's where all of the leaders in the world are moving. All of the big people with big money who own big companies and corporations, like Mark Zuckerberg. You know what I mean? Because nobody can afford it except for the billionaires.
Say that again. The Kauai. I don't see it on a chart. Here, let me see.
There's a North Node line.
My North Node's in Aquarius.
It's in Capricorn with
on the Vedic
Mars.
chart.
Yeah, it's in the Capricorn with Mars. So that could be definitely a great place, because that's the most influential line in Kauai. You know what I mean?
On
so
Kauai.
It's like, holy cow. Yeah, on Kauai.
I was thinking about heading to Hilo.
Yeah.
Actually.
Well, I mean, I'm saying Kona, like the Big Island or whatever, it's pretty good there. I mean, the truth is that, like, I live here, and you know, I'm actually been living in Bali, and I love Bali because I get so much more. You know, I mean, for the price that I paid for a little house, a little cottage, basically with an outdoor kitchen, and it's gorgeous. I'm on a Macnut farm in South Kona, right near two-step, right near all the dolphins. Literally 5 minutes, I can be at the ocean swimming with dolphins almost every day. They've been down there, you know, so it's been fantastic. But you know, Bali, I can get so much better bang for your buck. And there's this consciousness in Bali about powerful communities as well. And you got a moon line going right through Bali as well.
Okay.
You know, and somebody put it to me, a very successful person said, well, I have all the money in the world, so I was trying to figure out where to be, so I decided to split it up. I go 3 months. I take my wife 3 months of the year. We go to Southeast Asia and go to like Thailand and Bali in these areas for about 3 or 4 months. And then we go back into the hills in Colorado for 3-4 months while the weather's perfect. And then we spend 3 or 4 months in the Greek islands. You know, and it's like, wow. So that these are our, oh, and then 2 months in Hawaii out of that year. So it's like, cool. And they have houses in all these different places, except in Bali or Thailand. It's like you just arrive and they're here's a house. Here in Kona, it's like, you want a house. It's like, well, how many people are on the waiting list? You almost got to know somebody. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous.
You're on the Kona side then.
I'm on the Kona side, yeah.
Gotcha.
And so that's the thing is that now the disadvantage of living with the Saturn line also is that it is going to bring up stuff from you. You know what I mean? The Saturn is your debilitated planet, but it's also kind of necessary medicine. So it requires kind of this balance between it all. So part of me feels like knowing you that it's not just, I think Hawaii's great. I think Alaska's great, but you may have to kind of mix it up. But the thing to do is that when you go, my friend, I'm sending you a link right now. You have to avoid eclipses, traveling during eclipses.
Okay.
It's so important for you. And so Jupiter also rules the northeast directions as well. And you're in the Maha Jupiter Dasha, right? And
the
but
northeast.
the ruler, the northeast, which doesn't sound that great. They sound like kind of cold places as well, unless you're on the southern hemisphere, right, or something like that. But Mars is the lord, the ruler of your chart, and it's more of the landlord. And Mars may be more important. And Mars rules the south directions. So living in the south may be better than also living in the north. But the thing is, what I would say is that as long as you avoid eclipses, I can give you the top power spots of where you need to go. Right?
Yeah, that'd be great. Because I don't plan on. I'll keep Anchorage as a home base. But I don't intend to be back here for a while. I don't know when. So I just will be globe trotting.
Yeah. Do you have a place there that you would rent out, or are you just renting a place, or what are you doing there?
I'm gonna put my most of my belongings in storage and head out.
Okay, cool. Yeah, definitely. I mean, the part of it is, the main thing is you're in Jupiter period, and Jupiter's about exploration. Exploration, because the 8th house has to do with unknown, visiting these unknown places. Yep. It's a time where that you meet your guru and you give him the spiritual downloads. Yes. And you give other people spiritual downloads too. And that's why I'm so comfortable about your chart, because it's like Jupiter in Scorpio is probably my favorite position in the 8th house of Jupiter.
Wow. And
my Rahu is exalted in Taurus in the north node of the moon in my 8th house. Oh, so for me to do reading for you is like super powerful, because those are two planets that get along really well together. Rahu has opposition with other planets in any house, or any conjunction of Rahu, the north node, with any planets causes chaos except for Jupiter, and vice versa. Jupiter does really good with Rahu because it gives us intuitive, good information. So this is the time period that you meet your guru, that you find your spiritual dharma.
Yes, right? I'm looking for them.
Yeah, and to find spiritual hidden jewels too as well. And what a hard time to travel it is right now, Yeah, I hate to get stuck. somewhere and then have to take a vaccine passport. I'm not going to say if I'm a vaxxer or not because I don't want to get into the politics or
Right.
whatever. I know the karma around it, and it doesn't look too great.
What's
Vaccine.
getting into Hawaii? What's that like?
Oh, it's no big deal for you. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, you can fly to Oahu, I think, without even a vaccine, or you just get like what's called the nasal swab test or whatever. But there's different ones. There are ones that they stick way up your nose, and there's ones that just do the side. But now Bali has a new nasal test where all you do is you just breathe, exhale into
wow.
something, and that's it. And in 2 minutes, it gives you the results.
All right.
So that's actually, I think that's where they're going, and that really looks good. But I'd hate to get stuck somewhere where, you know, personally, I'm not taking the vaccine. And so I'd hate to end up somewhere where I need it and then go and use it against my will.
Yeah.
You know, it's really, the vaccine's a whole interesting astrological encounter. It's like when Kala Sarpa Yoga broke this difficult transit that was happening in the sky since the coronavirus started. When it finally ended, this cycle where all the planets were on one side of between Ketu and Rahu, the north and south node of the moon. The thing that broke it when Mars moved in between, that day, Mars represents blood and circulation. That day, Johnson & Johnson said, oh, we got to pull it off the market because it may cause blood clots, which is interesting because Mars represents blood. You see what I mean? So you can really see it, follow it in the astrology.
There were some deaths, or no, blood clots formed and threatened the lives of like 6 women.
Yeah, and so so my story is that, you know, when I was I got bit by a dog in southern Thailand, a black dog, this mangy dog, on an eclipse, believe it or not, and I had to take all the hospital said, no, you know, you definitely need to take these rabies shots. And since then, man, it's like I haven't been the same. You know, I mean, I'm really doing amazing right now because I'm really upping my game. But that's why I don't want to put any more BS in my body. You know, that's it. After that, then I had to take antibiotics because of the rabies shots and I don't want to do that. You know, Rahu rules poisons and toxins, and I'm in my Venus Rahu period right now. Great lessons on transformation, yet difficult to healing work and toxins and such. So it's actually funny. It's like you would be very helpful, even instrumentally for my healing also as well. You know what I mean? For advice or knowledge through your cards or through your wisdom as well. So I'll have to love to set up a reading.
Absolutely.
Cards for me as well, because I see that in the chart, you know? And I totally believe in you. My God, like I can't believe your chart. I can't believe your chart. It's like amazing. So we should be so gifted and so blessed during this time period that we want to offer ourselves to help. And that's because you got the moon line going through Bali. Bali is a great place. Like I'm here and everything's fine, but I want to be in Bali. You know, because there's such a thriving, great community there, and they have orphanages that you can do service at. And this is the kind of work that's good for you, is like selfless forms of service, like practicing the path of karma yoga, which is Saturn. Karma yoga is also doing fundraising to help, to help world recovery of economy or whatever it is, healing for humanity and consciousness, the philanthropy projects, volunteer projects for the home of the living and the dying, like Mother Teresa, you know, who had Saturn in Aries. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the cause of that is that my word to you is that you've got the greatest chart that I've ever seen probably in my life, but you got Saturn in there, and the message of Saturn is serve or suffer. And if we do everything, we have the keys to the kingdom, we have everything, but Saturn will not allow us to be happy because of these karma that we still haven't completed in this lifetime. Therefore, karmic retribution and ways to appease Saturn is key. And that's also burning frankincense. That's also maybe going to foreign locations to be of great service. You know?
Yes.
That's also to do our seva, to offer selfless forms of service is everything. So if you donated $20 today to a worthy fund of your choice to help humanity or people, or to give to somebody who's in more need than you are, or to do free oracle readings as you are the oracle, that's what I think would be the strongest, of giving free readings to people in crisis. You know, you will immediately be gifted. You'll help your karma, because it has to do with the past life karmas, that this retribution. You know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
And whatever you did in your last lifetime, I think you were a king who just, you know, a beautiful, wonderful king and everything, but you know, you may have been so consumed with being able to have this power that you wanted everything, and you really didn't even need that much money anyways. You know what I mean?
I think, you know, I've at a young age, I realized this, although Saturn has brought it back to me, or spirit recently, in that, you know, I chose this life. I chose everything that is happening to me and all the challenges. And now that Saturn to me is not the taskmaster, the disciplinarian, as much as it's the protective energy, you know, that was lacking growing up. He comes, and I feel him to be more of a protective, male energy. It's the yang that I needed to control and understand, because I was relying on a false yang, if you will. And you know, recently finding my yin and knowing how to tap into that and use that, I've started to achieve a balance that through energy work, like, you know, we are doing now with one another, I'll become clear what exactly my path is. Right now it's saying, hey, go to the Big Island for a spell, like 2 or 3 weeks, and then meet up with you, throw some cards, maybe learn some stuff. I intend to look into just like getting an Airbnb or
if as crazy as it may sound, I live on this property here, which is phenomenal and beautiful. And there's 2 woofing tents that have like a kitchen, and it's right in this amazing area and everything. It has a kitchen, it has a compost toilet, it has like amazing cacao and banana trees and fruit trees. It's the most beautiful part of, I think, of all of the Big Island here. And it's the street I live on is called a Painted Church Road in South Kona, near Ketakukua Bay, where all the dolphins are. And there are these woofing spaces, and the woman who owns the property said, let me know if you know of a good woofer who lives here. So if you're interested in just like woofing and working on the land, I would totally recommend you.
How many hours? How many hours a day?
Oh, I don't know. The woman's name is Diana.
Okay.
And she's a really cool lady. I don't know what the exchange is.
Okay.
There's electricity. It's like they are like these kind of, the kitchen has a little refrigerator and a little sink, and I mean, it would be perfect just to kind of get away from, at least a place to ground.
Please hook me up with Diana.
Okay, I will. As a matter of fact, I'll tell Diana I have a friend, and I say that whoever this guy is, we need to get him, because he's got this crazy chart, you know. But also we got to be, you know, I think Diana is kind of like, she's sensitive, you know.
Sure.
So people love her. She's a great woman in the community, but you know, she wants everything like, how should I say, you know, she's kind of a hard worker, you know, she like wants people to get things done. She doesn't want like people, like if you were going to do a woofing position who wouldn't contribute to the land in some ways. And there's a bunch of projects which I think you'd be perfect at and to do this with her. But I think that I could refer her, I could message her today and say, hey, I know this guy who at least would want to try it out or come here. And I could take some pictures of the property as well.
I don't need them. Yeah, I don't need pictures.
Okay.
I'm sold.
Yeah. I got to say something that's really amazing, but hold on, I'm grabbing something.
Sure.
It took me 5 months. Look at this instrument I got.
Oh, gorgeous. What's it called?
It's called the Hindustani slide guitar.
Wow.
And it has 26 strings. And I just got this yesterday, which is kind of like an omen. I got it from Calcutta, from India. You know, it has pickups. I mean, it cost me thousands of dollars, this instrument, but it's really the
wow.
And it is very, very subtle, you know.
Oh wow. Very I'm playing.
Yeah, so if you do come, we'll have jam sessions or whatever. That'll be really cool. But let me quickly talk about some of the other locations.
Okay.
California, because I think that it's well-rounded in other places as well. And it makes sense that you would want to get a hold of me. It's like, why is this guy getting a hold of me? Because it's like, you know, but you're intuitive and psychic, so you know where the Shakti is. Colorado is good because it has near Denver and Boulder has a Jupiter line that goes right through Colorado as well. Yeah, right near Boulder and Fort Collins and these areas. So it actually looks quite spectacular as well, Colorado. And I'll send you a screenshot of Colorado.
There's
California.
Tattoo artist that is based out of there that has been on my mind for a while.
Yeah, and I want to say California is very powerful. You got a Mercury line that's going kind of up through Northern California, but then right near in Big Sur, going all the way up the coast through Yuba City, and that's kind of a really powerful place. But it is that Mars line. But this is a great place for your work too as well. Like whatever it is, I would strongly suggest that you find a leadership role for the world to really help the world in a lot of ways. Now, there's another, what I'd really say is very strong for you is Baja, Mexico.
Really?
Yeah, because Baja, there's a North Node line, there's a Moon line, and there's a Jupiter line and a Venus line, but especially down near La Paz. And it's very, very beautiful and very, very warm and very, very cheap. And I have a lot of friends who are kind of moving down in Mexico as well. And then I also sent you a close-up of kind of like in different places in Mexico. So Mexico has a lot of potential also for you as well. There's kind of the good and the bad and the ugly, but there's this place where the Moon line and the Mercury line of the Jupiter kind of connect on the coast near called Tapachula, I think it is. I'm sending you the close-up of these maps so you can see them. And it's kind of like on the other side of the bay from Cancun and such. So I think it's kind of more like a mellow community, not Cancun, but the other, not that side of the ocean, not the Mexico Bay, but the Pacific Ocean side. And you can see where that Jupiter line
on the Gulf
also. No, on the other side, on the Pacific Ocean side.
Oh, right. Okay. But still on the Yucatan Peninsula.
Yeah, near the Yucatan. So near the Yucatan is pretty cool. And then also I see it seems to be like in Costa Rica, near there, there's a Jupiter and a sun line also as well.
These are all
Like I
places
sent,
that I've been thinking about going.
yeah, yeah. And that's why I'd say that, hey, a month in Hawaii, 2 months in Hawaii, whatever. If it doesn't feel right, move on, go down to Mexico because it's kind of on, well, I don't want to say it's kind of on the way because it kind of but it in a way it kind of is, you know what I mean? Because you have to head south anyway. So if you go to Hawaii, it's probably a shorter flight from
Yeah.
Hawaii to Mexico, I'd imagine, unless you got to stop off in LA first or something. Right?
Yeah, which I was born there, so I thought about being there on my birthday, the 26th of this month, just to
Yeah.
feel the energies. I also I'm thinking about going back to the Sacred Valley
Where's
in
that?
Peru,
Oh, right,
outside of
right,
Cusco. I was
right.
wondering
Did
if that's
did you get it? I also sent you a message on the eclipse locations as well. I don't know. I mean the eclipse, the dates of the eclipses, because that is my the most important thing that I say to you is that don't travel like a couple days before the eclipse, and then there's a 2 week period, and then there's a even though eclipses are a time period of great change, but I'd also be very careful about where to travel or like how you're going to travel also as well. You
okay.
know what I mean? And during eclipses, because eclipses affect us all on so many different levels that I'm afraid that, like, if you did, there could be drama. Like I told one of my dear friends, like, not to travel during an eclipse cycle, and she went to Bali with her partner on the day of an eclipse, right? And when she got to China, they said, "I'm sorry, but we can't let you go to Bali. She's in China. We can't let you go to Bali because you only have one more page on your passport, and you need to at least have two." So her partner went to Bali. She had to fly all the way back to the States, and then all the way back to China, and then all the way back. And because of that, because she flew during an eclipse, and I was like, "Don't do it, don't do it." So I sent you a link of the eclipses, and 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 as the astrologers, the kings would behead their astrologers if they did not warn them about eclipses. So I'm warning you. I'm not asking nicely. I'm warning you. I'm saying, like, it's out of my hands, man. If you want to learn the lessons of Rahu and Ketu and these crazy times that start pandemics and AIDS viruses and 9/11s, well, go ahead and be my guest. But I know that you're one smart cookie. You've got more spiritual unknown Shakti of esoteric wisdom than I do. And I've been doing this for 20 something years, and you've kind of got it ingrained, like you're better than me, man. And I gotta say,
How does that make you
cool.
feel?
How does it make you feel? Well, at least I don't smoke cigarettes, so go to hell. At least I play beautiful instruments, so piss off.
I love you.
But you came to Hawaii, man. I'm definitely gonna have to, like, roll you down the hill and take a couple of gut punches just to make up for some past life.
I think that's why Hawaii is going to be my first stop, Peter. Hey, listen, all this is new to me, and as much as you might feel a certain way, and I know you're half joking, there's always a seed of truth to a little bit, and I love you for sharing that. This is all so new to me. I don't even know what's in store, but I know that I want to surround myself with people who I can help and they can help me.
Yeah.
And you're one of those.
Well, all you have to do is like read about the Vedas, the Purana texts, read about astrology, keep on doing your cards, and keep on doing meditation is like your big focus, because that'll kind of give you the direction to transcend you, to figure out, do I go left, do I go right? You know, and I guess I'm kind of joking, but I mean, you do have, they say that in the Vedas that if the person has 3 exalted planets, they have the royal status of the king, but you got 4, you know? And that's like, you know, you're sitting on a gold mine, but you don't even know it. You remind me of like um, a client of mine was sitting on this land, and it's like, you know, they actually had gold underneath them, like hidden, and they don't even know. They're worried about like money. It's like, how am I going to
Yeah.
survive? And it's like, well, did you know that you're sitting on a gold mine, and that's kind of a part of it also as well. And that's who I think you are as well, but you don't even know what it is right now. So meditating, you know how like in the scriptures of like even biblical texts, it's like Moses would go on the top of the mountain and talk to God, and he would fast for 10-20 days and 20 nights, and Christ would go fast for 40 days and 40 nights, and Siddhartha the Buddha would go meditate for 40 days and 40 nights, you know. And so that's kind of what you're going to have to do to get this spiritual knowledge, to channel the divine, and say, where do you want me? And that's what they would always say, where do you want me? What do you want me to do?
Exactly.
I'm here for you. And that is all you have to do right now.
It's very exciting.
Yeah. And furthermore, you know, speaking about the ley lines and the maps, which I sent you, it's like, I think, Brandon, I think that there's a lot of areas that are really important, that are really good for you. You know, I mean, there is no just one. There are many, many places that are powerful. And I'm sending you the last maps of kind of South America, more about the close-ups and stuff that we just spoke about, including Baja and such, and close-ups more of California. So that's part of the dynamics. So what we need to do is strengthen our Jupiter right now. And that's done through more meditation, more prayer, more optimistic behavior. You know, follow the regulation of the eclipse 3 days before, and that 2-week period, don't travel, and wait till the eclipses happen in pairs. So keep that window open where you're grounded and you're not traveling. Like, already make your destination. So we have an eclipse coming up in about a month. So you're going to need to navigate that. Like, do I leave after, which will be make it 2 months, or do I go before? Or how do I do this? And it's sometimes good to do it before, because then you can land in the new place with the eclipse and kind of be more prepared, you know? And so Europe is showing up also as well. I sent you some other maps, but also in Spain. Oh, and especially like Palma, Mallorca, Cartagena. And that's why, you know, there's a Jupiter line going right through Palma, Mallorca, which is off the coast of Spain. And it's totally happening and really wonderful and beautiful there, you know? And the Greek islands, you know, which are incredible. You've got this exalted Mars energy and this exalted moon line too as well. I mean, I think the Greek islands are better than where you are. I think the Greek islands are relatively just as good as Hawaii or just about anywhere else in the world. You know, because of the exalted moon and the exalted Mars, this creates a really good balance for you. But I also know that it's good to find the Jupiter lines, because this can represent our spiritual kind of communities, right? That we connect with.
Yeah.
And that's why, even though there is a Jupiter line going through where you are, there doesn't seem to be maybe a spiritual community that you're finding or that you're connecting. But in Europe, right in Palma, Mallorca, which I'm going to send you the maps, there's a Jupiter line that goes through there with, you know, in Denver, Colorado, and Boulder, up in these areas, which are sent through the maps, there's a Jupiter line. That's your spiritual community as well, right? in Mexico, which seems to be kind of southern Mexico, and Costa Rica. There's a Jupiter line that goes, two Jupiter lines, one in kind of below Cancun. I just sent you the map. And also near Costa Rica, I believe this is Costa Rica right in this area.
Yeah.
There is also the Jupiter line as well. So these are kind of the connection more to your spiritual communities, right? Which I feel important because you are in the Jupiter period that's requiring this, right? So, and then I look at Australia.
Oh yeah.
And Australia is kind of cool because the sun lines are exalted, and near Byron Bay in Brisbane, there's a sun line going through there also as well, and a sun line going, right through kind of Byron Bay and up in the north in a place called Mackay and Rockhampton, which is kind of a cool area with really nice beaches. So, I mean, and not to mention, also to mention that coincidentally, there's a moon line going right through Bali. And the moon is the home, and the moon is exalted. And therefore, I think like Bali is a fantastic place for you also, considering that there's a moon line. And that's where I kind of want to be eventually as well,
And that's
so
Singapore,
part
right?
of it. What?
Where's Bali nearest? Oh no, that's
Indonesia.
Yeah, okay, all right.
I sent you a map of it. I'll send you another one.
That's see
just
now.
kind of, Bali is one of the Indonesian islands, and it's a real hotspot right now. People want to go there right now. And then the moon line, it's kind of like right above Perth, Australia. If we go directly north, Bali is directly above Perth, Australia, in that same alignment going directly north from Perth. And that moon line goes right through Perth and Bali as well. So I feel there's a connection between Perth and Bali. I also sent the maps that showed like even in parts of Thailand, and especially like Chiang Mai and kind of up in the north can be good as well. Maybe not really right now, but one of the areas that I saw that was kind of good were some of the West Islands on the west side of Thailand as well. There's a Jupiter line that moves really close to the border of Burma or Myanmar as well. But there is a Jupiter line that moves right near the border there. And that's kind of a really powerful place, And I was speaking about Maitreya and the Buddha and everything like that, because your nakshatra is in this nakshatra Anuradha, which is ruled by Maitreya or Mitre, which is a form of Maitreya or this Buddhist consciousness. And so having this in Thailand, now I understand why Thailand and these temples in there can be very powerful for you also as well, because this is who you are, this kind of spiritual monk in a lot of ways. And it's funny,
my plan of the next year.
You're wearing this.
Yeah. My plan is to visit all the ancient megalithic sites. So Giza, Angkor Wat. I want to return to Machu Picchu, and what I'd love to visit. There's a site called Göbekli Tepe in Turkey.
Yeah, it's one of the oldest archaeological sites in the world. I know a lot about it because I study the cycles of the yugas, and they're saying that it's thousands of years older than the Egyptian pyramids.
Yeah,
and that's because in 12,000 years ago, when that great flood happened, all of the world got covered, except in that area, it just got covered by sand, basically. So it's more acceptable for pulling it out because there's all these archaeological sites underneath the oceans. And that would be a fantastic thing to do, looking at the spiritual architecture of the world by looking at these ancient civilizations and sunken civilizations of humanity. Right?
Yeah, that's last 3 years. I've been doing a lot of research, going down a lot of rabbit holes, before I had this spiritual awakening and realized, okay, that was all a preparation. I just, absorbing as much of this information as possible. I was just obsessed with it. And then on 9/22/19, I had a crazy, that's when the divine just like reached down and touched me, and that's from there things started changing. And
I can imagine, my friend.
Started listening to my intuition and understanding the downloads and the visions. I have yet to get into my dreams, and I need to do more meditation. I need to stop smoking pot and as tobacco as well. But I hope to do that when I come to Hawaii, when I'm surrounded by water.
So that I'm really glad you said that, because remember I said the only thing you have to do is just to appease Saturn, right? And because every planet is amazing, and I understand why you would want to smoke pot or cigarettes, because your Venus is exalted in the 12th house, meaning that it can bring either addictions or pleasures. Either you're on the path and you're meditating, or you're and you're in the state of enlightenment, or you're moving down the path of addictions and illusions, because the great sages of India say that intoxicants are rajastic, and rajastic is tamasic, and tamasic is more like depleting energy, basically, when we're trying to raise our consciousness.
Yep.
And so the 12th house with Venus in there, it's either devotion and love and prayer in the temples and being in foreign lands, doing devotional forms of service and raising consciousness, or being in a bar, smoking cigarette, getting high, doing these things. And the thing about the 12th house, you can't do both. So you need to pick a side. And because of your chart, the karmic makeup, and because of Saturn in the first house, Saturn's all about purification, right? Because otherwise you're just adding some scars. So I mean, no offense or anything, I'm just going to tell you like it is, but I would, the way that we quit cigarettes and marijuana is by fasting, because Saturn represents fasting, doing long fasts where you can't smoke, right? And chewing cardamom pods. Every time you feel like having a cigarette, getting high, you'll be fasting, and then you put a bunch of cardamom pods in your mouth. And so this is the great thing about eclipses, is this could be a very good time to raise your consciousness by doing your inner work, but not to be out there in the world traveling in chaos. But that eclipses can be really good for ending things like addictions and problems like that, right? Therefore, even though it's something as light as smoking pot, but it can actually unfold the karma in your life, like kind of the story Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. At the very end, he ends up, giving back the everlasting gobstop, giving away, sacrificing a part of that desire that you have yourself to want to do something. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think it's very, very important to please really learn this and do a fast and say, okay, on this date, I'm going to completely clean that and purify my life, because I know that if this is my only link to my samskaras or to my challenges, that if I give this up, I'll be in tune with myself. I'll be, then I can finally follow that purpose. I think Saturn will let me off, because Saturn doesn't like any external environment. Saturn wants us to suffer more than to take something that'll eventually make us suffer more.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And not that it is. And please, there's, I don't want to, seem negative or anything, but I have a lot of great books on great articles that I've found in the past and knowledge, and I've written a lot about Prasha Prada, which means crimes against wisdom. So
Hmm.
prasha prada means that you do something that you know that's bad for you, yet you still do it, and you know that it's not good for you, right?
Yeah.
And so that could be very important to understand. Why am I doing this? What is the consciousness of that? And the only way to get around that is to be Saturn. Saturn's the planet of discipline, right? So the discipline, there's no other planet that is related to discipline. So that's what we're going to have to remember. I said the most important thing you need to strengthen Saturn is to have the discipline to say, absolutely not. This is it. That's it. You know, and there's in Ayurveda, there's a lot of articles about Ayurveda and marijuana, the misconceptions in spirituality of seeing these gurus on the banks of the Ganges smoking ganja, and those aren't enlightened souls. Those
Yeah.
are these mystic drug dealers, basically, is who they are. And I know because I've experienced in a lot of those too.
Yeah.
And and so look, everybody here in Hawaii smokes pot. I feel like a fish out of water. I'm not saying anything bad about it, but I'll just let you know that for you specifically in this time period of your life, that that is definitely not a good thing, because you're a king. You have this royal status. So to move into that place, that we would do this seva, this discipline. You just need to balance Saturn. And because Saturn's a planet of structure and discipline and resistance, and less is more. Saturn's about acceptance, accepting that, oh, I'm not going to feel the feeling of smoking a cigarette or getting high or doing anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
And not to sound, I
Along with
sound
your,
like your father.
no, that's Saturn. No, and that's
Yeah.
I we're in communication, and he's forgiving, he's patient, because of late, like my learning has been accelerated. Um, we both know that I just need to get out literally of this physical environment because it's toxic. And I'm just still holding on to those last two. Like I've greatly decreased my meat consumption almost to a point where I'm just straight up, vegan. Um, I have been fasting, drinking way, lots more water, um, to
Yeah,
flush
you
my
look great,
system.
man. Yeah,
Yeah,
you look great. Yeah.
well,
But
thanks.
anyways, that's I just thought I'd throw that in there and kind of mention that. So, but to look at all of your planets, like and with the alignment of these maps, I have to say we talk about a lot of these power spots, and I don't really think it is one place. Like I mentioned, my friend who said that, well, it's everywhere, kind of, and and cross that bridge when you get to it. Like you
Yeah,
can't make plans to say I'm going to go in Bali and live in Bali. It's like, well, what if you don't like it? Or, I mean, get there, cross that bridge when you get to it is kind of the
yeah,
key. But I'd say yes, Hawaii, yes, Colorado. Yes, in a lot of ways you can work and do important work as a leader in California, but you don't need to do that. You can do that online as well. Um, and yes, you need to be around spiritual community in these Jupiter lines, which you talked about the Jupiter lines. And yes, I definitely feel that the islands off of Spain, Palma Mallorca is incredible, and the Greek islands incredible, and that's why I feel that you'll go there, you'll be there, and in these great archaeological sites, Göbekli Tepe, to find out in the Fertile Crescent Valley of Turkey, to find this knowledge, and you'll be right up in that area when you go to the Greek islands. You know what I mean?
yeah,
How long will the Corona Sharona last so you can travel? Who gives a rat's ass? It could be forever,
right.
but those of us who are bold enough to travel right now will have great rewards in a lot of ways, as long as we don't travel during an eclipse.
Gotcha. All right.
So
Well,
cool, man.
wow,
I hope this has been helpful, and it's a lot of information. And
incredibly helpful, Peter.
I'm gonna reach out to Diana. I hope that and you can message me and say, hey, I just got an offer to go on this date to this country or this place, and I can quickly look up the date and look up the country and wherever it is that you're gonna go. But right now, I'd have to say, spoke about a lot of these power spots and sent you the maps of these areas as well.
I think I need to be on the Big Island. That's
Yeah.
yeah, and just to get my bearings, just to do some more cleansing and healing, get my hands dirty, woofing there in the soil and the earth, and then decide.
Okay. Yeah, and I'll talk to I'll have a message with Diana. I'll text message her later today.
Okay.
Because I gotta run out in a little bit.
Excellent.
Thank you, dear brother.
Thank you, Peter. Many
really,
blessings
really
to you.
wonderful speaking with you. Message me anytime on Facebook. It's probably the easiest place. Okay.
Okay, will do. Thank you, brother.
Great work, man. Great work. If you can't get it, get a yellow citrine stone for your heart and put it over your heart, because that's for Jupiter. Yellow citrine.
Where is it? I have one around here somewhere. One of my crystals. Yeah. All right. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you, brother. Okay. All right. Talk to you soon. Bye now.
Bye.